As you know, in The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie becomes obsessed with the desire to take revenge on all those people who were involved in the murder of the person closest to her, Joel. Throughout the game, she does a lot of horrible things that she wouldn't have done it before. In fact, she bets everything she has for revenge. Such aggressive and self-destructive behavior is due to the loss of Joel, which is quite understandable and lays on the surface. But today I'll try to prove to you that the reason for such a manic obsession lays in something else, in what the game hints about it but doesn't directly say. Friends, today I'll tell you about a rather popular and perhaps the most terrible theory in this universe, according to which Ellie's mental state in the game is influenced not only by external circumstances such as killing Joel, Jesse, beating Dina and all that, but also the cordyceps fungus which is in her brain, and what is most interesting, this fungus continues to develop in her body. However, it does so much slowly that inside other people. This theory was first discussed after the release of The Last of Us. In the last chapter playing as Joel, you could find a surgeon's recorder who said that the nature of Ellie's immunity is completely incomprehensible. MRI of the brain doesn't reveal a sign of fungal growth in the marginal cortex, which usually coincides with the first signs of aggression in infected patients. But at the same time, he also says that the cordyceps antigen titer remains consistently high both in the blood and in the cerebrospinal fluid, and that under laboratory conditions, a blood culture in a blood sample of Ellie, cordyceps grow rapidly. In short, a normally infected people in The Last of Us universe becomes aggressive rather quickly due to the growth of fungi in the brain and then turns into a runner. From all this we can draw at least two conclusions. No one understands the nature of Ellie's immunity, it's not well studied, and the fact that under certain conditions cordyceps in her blood can still grow. In The Last of Us Part 2, in the same hospital, we can find papers with our analyses, from which it becomes clear that she has a tumor in her brain from a cordyceps infection, which also mutates. This is something that was implied in the first game, and a large number of fan theories about the second part were based on this. Remember Ellie's hand shaking in the announced trailer from Last of Us Part 2? It was believed that her hand tremor appeared not only due to stress. It seems that Ellie still felt the infection of cordyceps in the brain. In other words, Ellie is not exactly immune, but rather more resistant to the influence of this fungus on the body. And this really seems to be true, because if she had such a clear immunity in the usual sense, it is unlikely that she would have a 5 cm mutation tumor in her brain, and cordyceps infection one way or another is present in her blood and body. Think about this: if by the end of the first game the tumor in Ellie's brain hadn't grown to such size, then why the growth of this tumor should have stopped at all? By the time the sequel ends, Ellie's brain condition has most likely not been checked for 6 or 7 years, and we have no reason to believe that the tumor has gone into remission, but the opposite scenario seems very logical, especially considering how Ellie behaves in the second game in some situations. There are a large number of studies that prove the direct impact of a tumor in the brain on a person's behavior, mental state, and accordingly decisions made. You may have heard that many psychopaths, having committed certain crimes, actually found a tumor in the brain. It also happens that a person hasn't yet done anything terrible, but those around him notices his aggressive and inappropriate behavior. Then he was sent for a check, and it turned out that he had a tumor in his head, which was subsequently removed, and the person's behavior became absolutely normal. Studies show that brain tumors like Alius affect a person's personality in such a way that he becomes more aggressive, and this aggression can be directed both at others and at himself. This fits perfectly with Ellie's behavior model in The Last of Us Part 2. Of course, she wasn't trying to kill herself directly, but taking extreme risks with minimal chances of survival for her was generally in the order of things. This theory scientifically explains all her reckless and risky actions in the second game, but it's not the scariest yet. If the surgeon's notice are to be believed, under the right conditions, Ellie's blood cordyceps could theoretically grow. So if this is Ellie's increased aggression and rage in the second game, which is also inherent in all infected, is associated not only with her emotions and even not only with her tumors itself, but also with the fact that cordyceps fungus still grows inside her brain, but much slower than in typical patients. She hasn't yet turned into a runner, but already feels some of the symptoms of this infection. It's possible that the scriptwriters didn't specially set any strict frameworks about how Ellie's immunity works, so that in the future they would have the opportunity to consider various plot moves associated with the future of the main character. But now there's a feeling that her so-called immunity doesn't completely protect her from the transformation, but only delays this moment. Imagine if in the third part we will look for a doctor to synthesize a vaccine with the help of Ellie, and in the middle of the game it turns out that she is not so immune. She will feel worse and worse, and closer to the final she will completely turn into a runner. But this is just my opinion. I don't claim that it will be so, but I really believe that the tumor in Ellie's brain affects her behavior and mood, even without any transformation there. This is already a pretty scary thing. Let me know if you agree with this theory. If you have arguments against it, we can discuss everything in comments. Thank you for watching.